Hello and welcome to the Pixelated Realms Gamescast, your guide through the digital landscape, untangling the mysteries of your favorite titles and discussing the latest and greatest in video game fun. I'm your host, Alex Salerno. Alongside me is my brother, Tyler. What's up?
Hello. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining
Hey,
us.
another great day in the video game world. Quick shout out to everyone in Florida. Hope you're safe. And,
Yes.
the hurricane is going crazy and don't risk it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, get out of there.
Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about, our video games, what we are playing, what we're looking forward to. We're going to answer questions from the community, and we're going to talk about a little bit about Metaphor. How do you say it, Tyler?
Metaphor Re-Fantazio.
Refantazio. We're going to talk about that and whether or not we think it is it a little overhyped? I don't know. Do we love it? Do we not? Find out. A little bit of bait there. But anyways, first some housekeeping. If you are not part of our Patreon, you're wrong. Go to our Patreon, go to pixelatedrealms.org/Patreon, and it'll forward you to our Patreon page, and you can follow. It's free. That's where we're going to post all of our information, any announcements, any new updates, any questions, any mullings that we have about future content. We're going to post on there first. We're going to try and get the community's feedback. So we highly recommend, if you're a regular listener or a new listener, there's something on there for you. So go ahead and head over to our Patreon. Like I said, it's free. There's no there are paid tiers, but you obviously that's just to help. That's just for support. You don't have to do anything. Everything is free on there.
Yep.
Now let's go ahead and dive into our weekly roundup. Tyler, what are you playing and what are you looking forward to?
All right. Well, there's a lot coming out right now, so it's been kind of tough, but and time's been kind of short because work's been busy. The unfortunate, you know, reality that is being an adult. But I have been actually playing quite a few games. Specifically, I've been playing quite a bit of Metaphor Re-Fantazio. One, because I'm someone who does, really did love Persona 5 and Persona 4. So that was a must play for me. I have a pretty complex thoughts about it though, so you're gonna have to wait till later to hear about that. But other than that, I've also been I've still been chugging through some old Call of Duty games because I'm on a World War II kick right now. So I've been playing World at War still, and I re-downloaded the more recent 2016 or 2019 Call of Duty World War II. And you know what?
Are you gonna play Black Ops?
No, I don't know.
It comes out in 2 weeks, and you said you're on a Call of Duty kick.
Yeah, but that's not I'm on a World War II kick, not a Call of Duty kick.
Oh, okay. But it's Cold War. It's halfway between now and then.
Yeah, but they're gonna have weird future. I don't know. We'll see. But
it's gonna be on Game Pass. It's free.
Oh, okay,
well,
okay. That's
free,
easier
right?
for me to say.
I use that in quotes.
Free
already
in
paid
my
for.
mind.
How about already paid for? Let's say that.
Right. But basically, I re-downloaded World War II because I've been watching Band of Brothers, and you're basically playing a similar company. So I was like, oh, I want to play, what I was watching. And that more recent, the Call of Duty World War II, it just is the weirdest gunplay in any Call of Duty game ever, and I just will never get over it.
Is that Vanguard?
No, it's called Call of Duty WW2 is what it's called.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever played that one.
Really? Oh my gosh. It has the weirdest handling though, where in Call of Duty, your guns are very they snap, they're very sharp. It's not about realism. It just has this characteristic snappiness to it. In this World War II game, you're M1 Grand and whatever you're carrying around, just it's so cumbersome. So when you hit right click to go to scope, it's like a solid delay, and I'm it feels like I'm actually playing a Battlefield game, genuinely. And I remember some of that criticism coming out too when the game came out, and I'm just it's almost unplayable. I just cannot.
Really? It's that
I'm
bad?
playing a Call of Duty game. I expect some snappiness, to the gunplay. So it's just weird. But it's still a cool story.
The reputation is almost doing them a disservice here when they try and do something different.
In this case, yeah, I kind of it doesn't feel right to me because I play Call of Duty because I like that snappiness. That's once again, that's not realistic, but that's not why I'm playing Call of Duty. There's other parts of Call of Duty that are realistic in the sense that this history is actually quite realistic, you know. So
Hmm.
um either way, those games still, as I've said in multiple uh episodes of our podcast, they just have like amazing campaign missions in the original Call of Duty game. So if you haven't played Call of Duty 1, 2, or World at War, I really recommend it. Even if you are turned off by the, let's just say, older graphics, I promise you those older graphics, for whatever reason, just allow them to tell a better story. So like
I
that's,
wonder if they'll ever remake those. That'd be an
why
interesting
wouldn't
remake.
they? You know, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think they're skeptical of World War II games in general. Like they
yeah,
just don't do as well as the modern warfare kind of style games. So
yeah. And I mean, they definitely had multiplayer, but they weren't focused on it back then. They like the multiplayer was local co-op multiplayer or local
yeah, we're talking like you had
multi-screen.
to be in the same room with the
There was
person.
no
Yeah.
like online at that time, right? Or it was very limited at
No, it
least.
was the most. It was one of the first like multiplayer games you would get online, right?
I
Like
know. Do you remember
very rarely.
we used to play that
Yeah,
game all the time. We'd play the bridge
absolutely.
mission and that was awesome. But it would be like 1v1 or like at most maybe
It was
2v2
like,
or
yeah, it was like
2v1.
4v4 or so. It were small maps, but like
Well, it
I
was
don't know.
because it was
See,
however many people could get in the room. You know, like
it's funny because it makes me want to reminisce on like old shooter memories, because to me, like, now shooters nowadays, man, this is a whole episode in and of itself. Like
hey, let's keep
shooters
going. Let's roll with
nowadays
it.
are a completely different experience than like shooters when we were kids. And yes, we were children, like, so like keep that in mind. But like we all used to have to like crowd into a room. We're looking at a TV that is tiny, you know, and you're splitting that
Hmm.
TV into into quarters,
Yeah,
right?
you have this tiny little
And
box.
we're all trying to not, and half of us are
You're
screen looking, and like,
you look
but
at
it was
my screen.
just, yeah, it was just so much fun. And like in the, that couch co-op like time for first person shooters
Hmm.
is really missed for me. Like it's just like now we're just all in our own setups, we're all online, and so like we just get mad when we lose, we're like, oh man, I'm trying so hard, I got mad. Back then it was like you knew half of us were cheating, like it was just all about just having fun, we didn't care. So it was just, there was no tournaments, there was no pros. So I don't know, I do miss some of that like couch co-op. I feel like shooters nowadays are, they're just so serious.
I know. We need to have like a classic LAN party at some
I
point.
know, that's what I was
Like
thinking.
just bring a bunch of TVs, bring a bunch of consoles or whatever, and just like go at it. I've actually
I
been on
was
a retro kick too. And so like so much so, and we were talking about this a little bit pre-show, but so like I got this.
That's
So this
so
is called
cool.
the Analog Pocket. And for those of our audio listeners, I'm holding up what looks like a Game Boy. And it is a Game Boy, basically. And so it is one of those like kind of emulator Game Boy systems where you can like load it onto an SD card. But this one's a little different because it also is an actual Game Boy.
So
So you
cool.
can play like the cartridge games. It's not an emulator. It actually has the hardware in it that replicates the same like chipset as the Game Boy. It's Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and stuff like that.
Wow.
So the chipset's called the FPGA. It's like an open source project to like preserve, retro gaming and stuff like that. So I was an easy sell. It's a little expensive and I kind of regretted it, but I tried to actually cancel it and they had already like then I was like submitted a cancel request because like I should save this
You're like,
money.
I don't
And then they
need
sent
this.
it anyways and I was like, well, that's that. Like there's nothing I can do now.
It's mine now.
Yeah, but I've been having a ton of fun playing this is my original
That's
one that
so
we
cool.
played, Tyler. Like
I
I remember
Yeah.
I don't what was that, 1998 or whatever? We were like 8.
Yeah, basically.
You were like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And
I
Tyler
was
got
like
blue
a
version.
very little kid.
I got a red version, and this is the original one. You can actually like still see a little bit. I mean, for my video listeners, you can't really see it, but the Sharpie
You
that
had your
says
name.
Salerno on it.
Yeah. Because everyone,
so-
you gotta understand, guys, everyone had these cartridges, all of our friends. Like, so everyone just had red versions. You had to put your name on it, or it was just like you were gonna lose it,
It was like your Woody with Andy, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it was awesome. But going down this, I started going down this like rabbit hole of apparently there's this whole like community of people who are developing Game Boy games still. And I was like, "Ooh, this seems really interesting."
So
And so
niche.
it is so niche. And I was like, "I kinda wanna make a Game Boy game." So I've been going down this, like, rabbit hole of, like, making a Game Boy game. Sorry, I got something in my eye. Um, but so, like, expect more updates on me from that, but it's very interesting. It's written in C, the C language, so it's, like, very low level, and I learned a lot about the Game Boy and how it works, and
Mhm.
how, like, apparently the Game Boy, do you know it only had, like, we talked about this a little bit the other day, but, like, it has, like, a 1 megahertz CPU. Can you imagine? Like, 1 megahertz, not a gigahertz, megahertz. Like,
But that's like the coolest thing, right? It's like from obviously, like, my knowledge is mostly in music. Like, they went to these composers, right? And they were like, these composers who had studied like Stravinsky and Bach and blah blah blah, all these famous people. And then they're like, okay, you got like a bleep, a bloop, and a blop. I
yeah,
need a full soundtrack out of that. Okay, how many things can I play at once? Like 4 max, and that's probably gonna crash it. Okay, and then we got like these legendary soundtracks, like a lot of these Japanese composers. I don't know, man. I don't know what they feed like composers in Japan, but they just always nail it. And the limitations to me are like one of my favorite part of any creative process. If you've done any creative work, whether art or composing or anything, you know, having limitations like that is sometimes the most fun. It
I'm
opens
trying to
up
look
your
up his
creativity.
I'm trying to look up his name, but did you know that I went to community college before I went to college, and I took a game design class, and my teacher was the guy who made the Sega like "doo-doo" sound,
Oh yeah.
and he was a composer.
Sega.
Yeah, Sega, that guy. And he would tell us all these stories of how he made like the original Sonic soundtrack and everything like that. And I'm trying to look
Wow.
up his name, and I don't know what it is. There's like when I look up
I mean,
Sonic original composer, like 5 people come up, so I don't remember who it was.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean,
he
a
he
lot of
would
that went
show us.
uncredited too.
Yeah, he might have. Like he brought in one of his developer Sega systems and showed us how he made the music. He made the music on the Sega Genesis.
Oh
So he
wow.
had a special cartridge that he would stick in there that was like it was like the program for creating the music, and he would sit there with the Genesis controller and he would make the MIDI music in that. Like,
That is
and we're like,
crazy that they
he's like,
made a
"This is how I
tool.
made the soundtrack." And we're like, "You gotta be kidding me." He literally just sat on the Sega
It's
making the
literally
soundtrack.
Mario Music Maker, like literally.
Yeah. And we were all like, I was like blown away. I was like, wow, like this guy literally made one of like these iconic soundtracks just going, playing these like one on or off. Like, is this
Yeah.
sound on? Is this sound off? Like, that was it. Like,
I mean,
it was super simple.
it's part of the creative process. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. Super cool. But yeah, going down that rabbit hole. So I'll probably update more about, making Game Boy games. And, yeah, I kind of like the simplicity and the restriction of it because it's like, games are so complex now
Yeah.
that when you're like, hey, you only have 4 colors and you have very limited memory and you very limited this, you can only do this. It makes it very interesting when designing like games. So I'm trying to make like a more modern like design style game using old technology. And yeah,
I
like you
like
said,
that.
no one's probably like 2 people will play it and it'll be like me and you, like
Yeah,
if we ever get it out, right? Like, so it's just kind of funny. But yeah, have a bit of a retro kick right now. So I've been playing like Link or Zelda, totally forgot
Link's
the name, but
Awakening.
Link's Awakening, thank you. And yeah, Pokemon Red. But non-retro side, I'm still playing Space Marines too, and I can't get enough
Yeah.
of it.
You've
Like
been
that game.
so I as expected, like I've pretty much after I beat it, I've been, not playing it as much. So like what's it like continuing to play? Talk about that a little bit.
I mean, it's a lot more of the same for sure, but I just, the game loop is just it's simple and effective for me. You are this badass space marine, right? There's only like the 6 operation missions,
Yeah.
and so you just play those over and over. And I'm just trying to get more powerful to do the harder content and stuff like that. And now it's to the point of like I have 2 level 25 characters with a like optimal build, and I can basically like solo each of the missions on the hardest
Oh
difficulty.
my gosh.
But yeah, but like you'd think that I'd be done, but I'm like, oh well, I got more characters to level up. Like
Well, that's
I
good.
don't know. There's just something in the simplicity of it, and I think the developers even came out and they're like, too many modern games try and do too much,
Yeah,
and then they
I
don't do
agree.
any of it well enough.
Yeah,
And so it's like I really respect them. Like, hey, we are taking just the core concept and we are just going to make it very good.
yeah,
And I like that, and I really hope that they did say they're gonna come out with more stuff, right? They're gonna
yeah.
come out with, like, more content and stuff like that. It's probably gonna be pretty slow, like, I'm not expecting that to come out, like, a lot, but, I'm excited to see what they do with it, and I'm sure they were surprised by how popular it was, and, um, I kinda I wit like, I know we talk about Ghost a lot, but, with Ghost of Yotei coming out, it's hard to avoid, but I, like, hope they take this in, like, a Legends direction
Hmm.
and, make the kind of co-op operation stuff, its own thing and have it much because right now it's like you kind of are intertwined with the main story, but I would love to see them kind of give it its own story as it continues on, past
Yeah,
Titus now that he's, like, left at the end of the game, right? He's moved on to bigger, better things, so it's like you can kind of keep your squad and
keep
be
it.
like, "Hey,
Yeah.
like, you guys still got missions going on." And they
Well, we
did say
still
they're
got
gonna come out
horde
with
mode
more.
coming up, right?
Yeah.
Swarm mode or horde mode. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot in the pipeline for that game. So, but I agree. Like, I don't need to. Not every game needs to be a full life part-time job dedication. Like, it's fine to just play like for 20, 40 hours and come back when there's more content.
Yeah, totally. I think I'm at 70 hours, but,
Nice.
probably a good chunk of that is probably me sitting in the menu. I'm a notorious menu sitter. Like, I'll start the game and then I'll just, like, leave for a few hours, so probably, like, 10 hours of that is me just sitting in the menu. Um
Yeah. I it's funny, I know that because I am not. I do not. And I look at my times and I'm like, I know I did not sit in the menu because I was
No.
like, I don't sit in the menu for the reason that I don't want the time to reflect.
Right.
So,
I probably should be better about that.
well,
But
sometimes when I see someone who's like 10,000 hours in a game, I'm like, I like this game, like whatever game it is, it'll be like something obscure and I'm like, you have 10,000 hours. I don't believe you. I
that's
don't
a lot.
believe you.
That's a lot.
World of Warcraft, like MMOs, I understand, but like it'll be some obscure, like game. I'm
Yeah.
like, I no, no,
Some game that doesn't even have that much content. You're like, "How do you even sit in that game that much?"
right. And then
Mhm.
they'll give it a negative review, of course.
Yeah, right. "I don't recommend this game. I've played everything there is to offer, and it got boring after a while."
It
You're
got
like,
boring after
"Yeah."
10,000 hours. Yeah. Oh, I'm so
Peop
sorry.
Yeah, people are wild. But, I'm really I really like the game, and also there's a chance that you're playing with Henry Cavill. So I have to keep playing just on the off chance that I can say
Small
maybe I
chance.
played with him. A
Yeah, I
higher
mean,
chance every day because less people play. But, though I do think the PvP could use a little work. It's very simplistic, and I guess that's probably also by design. But, there's like 4 maps or whatever, 5 maps, 3 game modes, and, most people don't know and something actually I do wanna bring up is that most people are used to playing like Call of Duty and stuff where you can be like this like solo hero and you can run in, but in this game, you can't do that at all.
oh yeah,
You will get mowed down like faster than you can blink because it's very like time to kill is relatively quick considering the like how strong your character is compared to the rest of the modes where you're used to just being able to just sit there and like blast guys. In that one, like if you get caught first by an enemy, you're dead. Like it's
yeah,
over. So most people aren't used to that in this type of game. So you really have to be like slow and kind of like sneaky and stick with your teammates. And a lot of people aren't used to that. So you'll join games and people just don't know how to play the style and they'll just get mauled. I mean, it doesn't winning and losing doesn't actually matter, but uh, I would
yeah,
like to see them kind of expand upon it a little bit.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
I'm just glad they definitely like did a good job with the content they had. I'm always appreciative of that. Might as well
Seriously. Yeah,
have
me too.
smaller amount of content that's good than tons of content that sucks.
Yeah, I agree. I've also been playing Alan Wake
Oh
2
yeah.
again because we talked about this a little bit, but because I'm trying to platinum it because I was like, I don't want to buy Silent Hill 2 until I've beaten Alan Wake 2 in completion because I was so close already to getting the platinum, and I was like, "Well, I'm like right there." And I'm really bad about, like, spending money on games. I mean, a lot of us are, right? But buying games that I, like, wanna play, and then they sit, and I'm like, "Oh, I, like, really wanna complete this." And
Yeah,
so
you
I've
just
been
have to like
trying to,
push
like
yourself a little bit. Yeah.
I've been trying to challenge myself to be like, "Okay, beat at least one of the games you have before you buy a new game." And so I have, like, because I still have, like, Outlaws that I have to finish. Like, I still been playing it,
Same.
but I haven't sat down and been like, "I am going to beat it," right? Like, I'm kind of in
Yeah.
that mode where, like, I pick it up and I play and I have a really good time and I really like it, but then I'll go and play something else for a little bit.
Right. You're not like mindset focused on that particular game. Yeah,
Yeah,
I get that.
exactly, which you don't have to be every time, but that game did come out pretty recently, so it's like, I have Astrobots and I have Silent Hill 2 kind of waiting, and I haven't bought them yet, and so I'm like, "Okay," like, I feel like I have to start going through a little bit of my more recent backlog before I can pick up these 2, and so I'm really, really close with Alan Wake 2. Like I said, the DLC was hilariously awesome, and I just played through um, the scene again in Alan Wake 2 where it's, like, the music video, and,
So cool.
one of the best scenes, like, in
It's
any
just
game,
such
like,
a
I played
good
a long
game
time.
moment. Yeah, if you've never played it, like, even if you have no intention of buying Alan Wake 2, just go look it up on YouTube. It's just a great like moment.
Yeah,
The guard, what's it? Uh,
the Old Gods of Asgard.
Old Gods of Asgard. Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's such a fun sequence. I had like, that sequence alone made the game just a 10 out of 10 for me because you're in this, like, alternate reality kind of dark place, and so, like, weird things can happen, right? And one of the common themes throughout the game, and this was even in Alan Wake 1, is, like, music is a common
Mhm.
theme in Alan Wake 2, and there's this band called the Old Gods of Asgard because the makers of the game are Finnish, right? So everything is, like,
Norse.
Scandinavian themed.
Yeah.
And so, hi, sweetie. Hi, I love you. Sorry, quick break for I gotta say hi to my daughter. Hi.
Naomi.
Yes, sweetie. Yeah, I'm almost done, and then I'll come and give you a hug, okay? Oh, going for a play date. Okay. Hi. Sorry for the interruption. But the Old Gods of Asgard, anyways, are like
Naomi's
these,
never
like,
interruption.
they're actually very, like, important characters to the game, but they're like this rock band. And so one of the scenes that you play is they retell the entire story from Alan Wake 2 1 all the way up to where you are in a music video that you're, like, participating in. And it's so good. It's
And
so
yeah, you're
fun.
like walking around like shooting these dark spirit things while they're like playing this amazing like rock like ballad. It's just great. Yeah, it's just a
Yeah, it's like if
really fun
I
scene.
literally have it I listen to the song on my iPod, like, regularly. It's so good.
Oh yeah,
It's like
no,
a
I have it
12-minute
saved.
song.
Yeah, it is a really
Yeah,
long song.
yeah,
Also,
because they
when I
have
was playing the game though, I sat there and I was like, they are repeat. How are like okay? That was like a technical
oh, yeah,
how are
it's
they
brilliant.
like looping each section properly what in anticipation of me walking and queuing the next section? Like I honestly would love to see a video on how they did that because it's
Yeah,
not as easy as you would think. Like people would think like, well, obviously like it just plays this part of the song and loops it until you step into the next
but it
thing.
has to
But
transition and everything.
it has to transition all tons of things at the same time in beat, right? It
Mhm.
cannot just be like at any time. It has to transition within the phrase of the music. So it's like,
Yeah.
how the hell do they do that?
It's they I mean, they obviously made the song in a way that would handle that. Like, the way that they handle,
Sure.
like, like, instrumental sections, they add instrumental sections in between each thing that they can put on repeat. And so, like, they'll repeat those instrumental sections, and then when you get to the next thing, it'll jump onto the next, like, vocal area, and it's
Yeah.
just so good. Or, like, I mean, like, so much about it is so fun because, you see all these, like, big screens around you, and then you'll see, like, a sign that's like, "Wait for the solo," and then you walk in, and it's just this guy on a guitar, he's like, just just killing
They
it on
just
a
have so
guitar, and
much
you're like, "Fuck
fun with
yeah."
it. It's such a good use of like video games as an artistic medium, right? Like it's
Yeah.
also fun, but it's just like art on so many different levels.
Yeah, I mean, and it's cool about that game is that the whole point of the game is how art affects reality, right? That's
Hmm.
like literally the theme of the game is art affecting reality. And so it makes total sense of making like using art in the game beyond just the game to like, do things. But I mean, that game is just so good. It's brilliant. It's honestly just
It's really,
brilliant.
really brilliant.
If you haven't played that game, God, you got to play it. Like, play it now. Go out, run to the store,
Run,
get that game.
don't
It's
walk.
probably on sale, honestly, at this point. Um, yeah, it's so good. I forgot what I was talking about.
Just
Um,
Alan Wake 2 in general.
Alan Wake 2 being fantastic.
Yeah.
I totally lost my train of thought because do you have anything else, or should we move on?
No, I think we should move on to questions. Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. All right. Well, it's time for Ask Pixelated Realms, where you ask your questions. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I got a new prompt. I'm fucking it up. Time for
Ask the
Ask
questions we
Pixelated Realms,
asked.
where we answer your questions and read your comments. If you'd like to join the conversation, just head over to pixelatedrealms.org/ask. Let's dive in to see what you've been curious about. We have 3 questions. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So
great.
the first
Thanks,
one
guys.
is from Employee of the Month Ralph. Love that. Love that name. Okay, so what's more important in a video game? Story or game mechanic and action? Ooh, that's such a tough question.
I mean, I actually don't think it's a tough question. I think the battle mechanic is more important. Like, I think the action and battle mechanic are more important. I think I can name 5 games right now that all have legendary battle mechanics, and like the story is absolute garbage throwaway and people still love it. So like, to me, like it's not a necessity. And I'm even on the camp of someone who is like significantly more drawn by a good story. So like most people just don't give a crap at all. Most people just skip. They mute the audio, they skip the story. Like, I don't think anyone
Don't be
cares
that
for the most
person.
part.
I know. When I found out people do that, people like literally play the entire games and they'll just skip all the cutscenes, and I'm like, what?
Don't mute the audio.
Yeah, Joey Noel, I'm looking at you.
Don't skip cutscenes.
I agree. The gameplay mechanics are more important because I can think of plenty of games that probably don't even have a story. I mean, if you think about it, like a lot of the old retro games never even had like a real story. The story was like cobbled together later or by bits of lore from books or like the game manual.
It was all just about what they could achieve via mechanical, means of the time.
Yeah, I'm a big narrative person. Like, I love a good story. The gameplay has to be solid first, and a good story will draw me in and keep me. So it's like I really appreciate a good story. But yeah, you're right. If you have a good story but the mechanics are shit and you don't want to play the game, then you're never gonna play it.
Yeah.
All right, next question. I want to try something new where I give you guys 2 video game characters and you pick which one you think is better. Okay. Ezio versus Kratos.
Okay.
And Ezio's from Assassin's Creed 2 and Kratos is God of War.
Yeah.
Okay, he's challenging us.
Okay. It's challenging because one's a god and the other one is a human mortal who's pretty badass.
Yeah.
What's your initial thought?
Which one's better, right? So what is better? Are they better? Okay, I think we have a lot of criteria here. One, in a fight, obviously Kratos is going to whoop Ezio's ass.
It's pretty. Even if
no
Ezio got the jump on him, I don't
even
see
if Ezio stabbed Kratos in the fucking neck, he would just be like, what
you just crush him. Boom, just destroys him.
As far as like character complexity goes, I think they're both pretty good. I mean, I would say probably pre the new God of Wars. I'd say they're pretty comparable because like the whole thing, Ezio is like he's this like player. He starts off as this guy who just doesn't give a shit about anything, kind of that Tony Stark arc. Yeah, and then at the end, he's like, I care about everyone, and I want to do everything that I can to save my town, right? So it's like the complete flip of his character. And then Kratos is like this rage monster because, he was tricked into killing his own family, spoilers. And then he, whatever.
It's
the
like the first
really
hour of the game, yeah.
And, and then he basically is like, he goes full ass Punisher, and he's like, I'm going to fucking kill every single god because how dare you do this to me? And then in the new games, he turns a leaf where he's like trying to get rid of that person who he was, right? He's like, okay, I did it, but now how do I have this PTSD basically and trauma from my life. Like, how do I not put that on my new son and, raise him in a way that's like normal? So, Go
I'm
for
just
it.
thinking like Assassin's Creed 2 is like one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games. I
Mhm.
loved it. I 100%ed Assassin's Creed 2. Like I did
Yeah.
it to get the Eden ending cutscene that like shows like Adam and Eden like leaving the anyway. Look it up if you don't know. There's a secret cutscene to the end of Assassin's Creed 2. And I don't know. I love that game a lot, but I still think Kratos is a better overall character. He just has like a really fun, complex arc. He is just a really great like he's a man who became a god who went back to being a man. Like he just has so much complexity and like his games have such great like insight into his story. You
Yeah.
know, Ezio is a really fun character, but like I don't think he's quite as complex. Although, you know,
Yeah.
I
Well,
did love
he only
his
got
game.
one game, right? So
Doesn't
that
he get a second? Isn't it in 3? I thought you were also Ezio, but you're like
no.
commanding.
In 3, you're the Native American guy. I forgot his name.
What
But
about Brotherhood?
they do no, see the thing with Assassin's Creed is you never play the same guy twice.
I
And
thought you played Ezio anyway.
so Ezio only got one game and Kratos has like 10 games. So it's like a little unfair of a comparison, right? But I agree, Kratos wins, but because, you know, if Ezio got like 3 or 4 more games, maybe we'd be having a different conversation, but you know, it's hard to compare 10-game story arc to a 1-game story arc.
But still, I like it's a good question.
Yeah, keep them coming, Ralph. I'll have to put you on payroll. I don't think my
You
mic
went
picked that
mute.
up.
You muted
I
when
was
you
too
did that.
quiet.
Yeah.
Oh, it
Yeah.
was too quiet. It didn't. I said we don't actually have a payroll.
Yeah.
All right, last question. This is from Hurricane Displaced Sam. Stay safe, Sam.
Aw,
We're
Sam. Sorry to hear that, man. Hope you're okay.
yeah, you know, hopefully nothing, you know, too bad is happening. Hey guys, hope you're well. Been listening to the podcast as I once again am driving to another state to get away from the fucking hurricane.
dude.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Hopefully everything is all right. So what are you guys, and thank you for listening, by the way,
Yeah.
during all this. Hopefully we can help a little bit. So what are your guys' mobile game recommendations? I probably should be conserving
Ooh.
battery life, but I need a pick-me-up. Sunshine Sam. Great question. We love our mobile games, and it's really hard to find a good one.
Yes.
It's like
I feel like both
it shouldn't
Alex
be
and
this
I are
hard.
like always doing this. Like we're always looking for a mobile game to
Yeah.
like spend some time on.
I know. It's like I like want such a good game, and it's like there are like a couple good ones. Even like so, I even have Arcade on my phone, right? Which is the Apple's like subscription service that you can you know play better games. But even with that, like a lot of the games just don't. I don't know. There are good ones. Don't get me wrong. It's just hard to find them.
There are good ones. So it's funny because, like I said, I'm always looking out for this. So Sam, I got you. So there's actually a lot of like really like 10 out of 10 awesome board games that have really good like iPhone apps. So like I would definitely recommend checking some of those out. Let me see. Let me give you some info here.
Yeah, I got some
for
too,
example,
not board games, but
yeah, for example, Dune Imperium is a board game that has a phone app or an iPad app. It was like $10, pretty low cost, but it's a really great board game. You can play versus AI, so you can play by yourself or with others. Teaches you the rules of a rather like, I'm not going to say complex, but like, you know, these apps just teach you the rules. They immerse you into these experiences and are really fun. So I've been playing a lot of that. There is also Swords of Convaleria. I've talked about it a little bit on the podcast. If you like turn-based, it has a little bit of a getcha game kind of thing going on, but it actually has a pretty decent turn-based Final Fantasy Tactics style game underneath it. So honestly, as far as getcha games go, I think it's actually pretty decent. So if you're looking for something and have Signal, check it out.
yeah. Let's see. The ones that I play that I like on mine, I could go over. I have this one called The Tower. It's a great like just killing time. It's basically like a single tower defense game where you just like upgrade forever. But it's one of those games that like you could literally spend 100,000 hours in and never beat the game, kind of a thing. And so it's kind of fun if you just want to murder time, if you want to just kill time. But if you want something that's substantial, murder time. Mega Man X, the classic retro game, is on the phone. That's a good one. Um, Star Wars: The
I
Old Republic 1 and 2 is KOTOR. Knights of the Old Republic 1
yeah,
and 2 are both on the phone. Amazing games,
and they
worth
actually play
playing.
really well on the phone. Actually,
Yeah. Um, there's a game called Star Wars Hunters that
oh
came
yeah,
out recently. That's fun. That's like I think it's 4v4.
but that's like a
It's like a
stay
shooter
connected
game.
kind of thing if you have
Yeah, you need
Wi-Fi.
the internet
Yeah.
for that one. It's fun. It's really fun. I play that one actually a lot. There's Warhammer Tacticus, which is it's pretty good, but there is a bit of a not a paywall. I mean, there are like gotcha stuff, like it's hard mobile not to have that, but there you do eventually kind of hit like a limit where it's kind of like you're slogging through it. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty fun. Shovel Knight has a game called Shovel Knight Dig. That's good. And then
I don't know. I've
Doom.
tried that one.
Doom has two games actually. They have Doom Original, which is like the retro one, which is really fun and is really fun to play on there. But there's also a game called Mighty Doom, which is like this kind of like top-down game. And it's really fun. So I recommend all of those. So I think between all of those recommendations, you'll definitely find something.
Yeah, no, it's funny how many they've actually had some really great ports of old games. Like one of my favorite
Mhm.
phone games is Chrono Trigger. Like you could just play
Oh
it,
yeah.
I mean, it's dude, Chrono Trigger. Like it's like one of the best. Final Fantasy VII. Like you could just play
Mhm.
that on your phone. If you have a controller with Bluetooth, you can connect it and like, dude, that would have been living the dream 20 years ago. Like that would have been so cool.
Yeah, I know. I don't think I have it near me, but I have one of those like little backbone controllers. I play whenever I like travel. I'm always playing like retro games on my phone.
Yeah, I want to get one of
Uh,
those.
oh, sorry, my like Alexa heard me and started talking and it freaked me out a little bit. Okay, cool. Thank you, Sam. Stay
Thanks,
safe.
Sam. Stay
Keep
safe.
us
Yeah.
updated. I kind of want to make sure, like, I want to know, like, you're good. So keep us updated.
Yeah.
Uh, okay. So before we dive in, though, we want to say we really appreciate everyone who follows and subscribes to us. We post new episodes every Tuesday morning, sometimes Monday night, sometimes later in Tuesday. I try and get it at Tuesday morning as much as possible. Sorry if it's a little off. You can find us on YouTube and podcast services. You can also find us on Instagram, Threads, YouTube, and most importantly, Patreon at Pixelated Realms and Pixelated Realms Podcast. All right. So, Tyler, take us away in our segment. I have to go turn
Okay.
Alexa off. It's playing music.
Oh my God, Alexa, Jesus. Oh,
Alexa,
okay.
stop.
That is so
Sorry.
funny. Oh my God.
That was so
Okay,
random. I don't know what it heard.
so
Um,
we're talking about Metaphor Re-Fantazio. So to get everyone up to speed on this game, this is coming from Atlas Studios, published by Sega. If you're unaware, Atlas produces the incredibly well-received series called the Persona series, the most recent one being Persona 5 Royal Edition. But Persona 4, 3, 2, 1, as it goes, are all incredibly excellent games. They're kind of following in the footsteps of Square Enix in the sense that they're having kind of these popular turn-based RPGs,
mhm.
but there's some really significant differences. So please, I'm not going to compare it to Final Fantasy ever again after this, because it's a very distinct set of, how do I put this, like mechanical and philosophical approaches to the video game. So if you're unfamiliar with Persona, I highly recommend it. Persona 5 is an excellent game. I mean, I can say, I think without too much shame, I actually haven't beat it, but I do have many hours in it.
It's like an 80-hour game, isn't it? Like it's like
It's a long
super
one.
long.
Yeah, you got to really dig into it. But I think I've played over 40, 50 hours of the game. That was just probably just several restarts. And oh, sorry, my cat is moving my microphone. It's an excellent game. And so when this Metaphor Re-Fantazio came or was dropped, it essentially it was Atlas doing a fantasy take on this kind of Persona game style. Now, Persona takes place in Japanese cities. Every single one takes place in a city. So this game is taking place in a fantasy setting, right? More, it's the, instead of it being, flavored in a city setting, we're flavored in a fantasy setting. So that was really exciting to a lot of people, including myself. Personas always takes place in a high school as well, so it kind of has this like pseudo slice of life anime aspect to it. And to everyone, including my not to not every some people, including myself, found that to be a little, I don't know. I find the high school setting just to be a little like overdone, right? especially like an anime. It's just like so common. It's not like my favorite setting. I didn't dislike it, but it's just not my favorite. So I was really excited about the fantasy setting aspect. And so far I gotta say, it is a really enjoyable game. I think the Persona system like molds over fairly well into a new setting. Like it plays solid. Like I've played now about 6 hours, and almost all of that is just the demo. So if you're interested in trying it, just so you know, there is a demo, and it's like a solid 5-6 hours. So you can like really understand if you like this game before you throw the $70 to buy it. But that being said, more about my thoughts on the game. The first thing I just got to say is it's not it is damn near identical to Persona. If you're wondering if this is like going to be like Persona or just kind of like tangential, no, it's pretty much identical. I mean, there's some very small things that are adjusted. Like you don't have like the group squad attack. Outside of turn-based combat, the combat's handled slightly differently. So there's some very, very subtle differences, but no, by and large, it's very much the Persona system. But I think the problem with that is it lends me to want to compare this game to Persona 5 almost like unfairly, because normally, you'd be like, well, they're two different games, right? And I'm like, well, no, they're not. They took the bones of Persona and they put it into a fantasy setting. And there's nothing wrong with that, because Persona is an excellent game. That alone probably gives this game a 6 out of 10 rating without even knowing what the fantasy component is. But like, if that, I'm not sure that this game deserves to exist outside of that. And I'm still discovering that. So, the story's been a bit generic. King dies, heir needs to take over. But like, I'm not going to spoil anything, but as I go through, it does seem to get more interesting. I've got to say, the main character, he's coming off as a little generic at first, kind of same with the side characters as well. But, I'm trying to give them time to develop. I played 6 hours. This game's probably going to be 60 to like 80 hours. So I'm hoping to see a lot more development there. But as I was saying, like, I got to kind of compare it to Persona 5. And if I'm doing that direct comparison, I would say the Persona 5 characters were better designed. I mean, they feel a lot flashier, a lot more memorable than the characters I'm kind of looking at in this game at the moment. That being said, like, I kind of have that feeling about several things, right? Like, the music in Persona 5 is like absolutely legendary. I have so many of those soundtracks like just on my Spotify. But like, in this game, like, the soundtrack's good, super solid, enjoying it. But like, it doesn't have that like legendary status in my head. So I don't know. I think one thing I do want to talk about a little bit, not just to like completely harp on pros and cons of this game, because I am enjoying it, is just how the video game community has kind of been reacting to it. So if you pop open, Google and look up reviews for this game, I mean, it is 9 out of 10 and 10 out of 10 across the board. I don't think
I'm
I
on
saw
Metacritic
anything
right now. And so the Metascore sits at a 93 and the user score is 9.3. So it's like very high. And I'm looking at the latest reviews, 10, 10, 10, 10. So people love it.
People really loving it, and people love the Persona games. But I'm just to be critical, like, I'm not convinced that this game has enough originality and like separation from Persona to get that high of a rating. Like to me, I think people are seeing a little bit of seeing with rose-colored glasses, and they're saying, "Oh, this is identical to Persona. I gave Persona a 10 out of 10, so this game's an auto 8. Play it," and then they're like, "Okay, yeah, it's a 10 out of 10." I'm not convinced this world deserves to stand on its own yet.
What if I'm going to pose a scenario? So what if you're a Persona fan, and let's say you're like a big Persona fan, and you just want more Persona wrapped in different things? Would this do it for you? Right? Like, that's what I feel like the main kind of demographic for this is people who already really love the Persona, which is already, I know this might be a little controversial, but I would say it's actually a niche crowd, but the crowd that is in it,
it's a big
I'm not saying the
community.
small. I'm not saying there's
Yeah.
like a small group. I think it's a big group, but it's a niche, and I think that those people
What?
are.
That those two things do not mix. It's
I don't think
you
people
can't be
playing Call of
niche in a
Duty
big
are the
group.
same people playing Persona. I say it could be a large group, but it's not like 100% of gamers. And
Yeah.
so
Nor
I
is any
mean
game.
niche meaning I mean like the people who like it. You know what I mean? And the people who don't like it stay away from it. So the people who are going to play this game are people who are like Persona. And so like is this going to scratch that itch for them?
I think it's trying to attract people who like Persona-like games and who like anime and who like
Mhm.
turn-based games, right? And it achieves that objective entirely. So like to me, this is going to be a 7 or an 8 out of 10. I hope it's, I hope, it grows in that sense. I just think
Mhm.
just that for everyone to throw out 9s and 10 out of 10s is kind of, I don't know. It just feels like it's, how do I put this? Like when John Williams writes a score, they're just like, okay, it's John Williams, like hand him the trophy. I don't feel
Yeah.
like they're judging it based off of its completely like objectively, right? I feel like they're saying like, well, since it's Persona, I know it's fucking good. Like give it a 9 at least, So I don't know. Until someone's like, I've spent
Like it
100
maybe
hours.
it's riding on its reputation a little bit too
Yeah,
much.
it's riding on its reputation a little bit. And but I also, viewers, I don't want to like say it's undeserving of that yet, because once again, I'm probably 10% through the story, right? So like these games do depend on like the building and the growth of the characters. They like depend on that. So by the
Mhm.
time, hopefully in like 3 or 4 weeks from now, I'm on this podcast and I'm saying I was wrong. I just beat it. That game's legendary, 10 out of 10, like 100%. I hope that's the case. I'm just surprised to see people, a lot of reviewers, day one saying 10 out of 10. I think that's some bullshit, honestly. I think they are
Uh
jumping the gun.
like they haven't had enough time in the game
Yeah.
to
I think they're
really.
jumping the gun.
Okay. Yeah, I have never played Persona and I'm intimidated by the game. Like I'm not afraid to say it. Like that game, it seems one, there's 5 of them, and then they're all like 40 to 60 to 80-hour games, so they're like very
Sure.
long. And on top of that, there are things that you can like miss and things that you would want to go back to. So which makes me, and I'm kind of a completionist, so it's like I don't want to have to play a game that's 60, 70 hours twice. And
Yeah.
so it's like I'm purposely staying away from it because of that size. So I don't have like any kind of.
It's a game you have to try to let go, though. You have to try to, just like Baldur's Gate 3, right? Like, shout out to Chewy, my coworker. It's like,
Yeah.
you just have to, like, if you try to play Baldur's Gate 3 and you try to get everything, you're never going to beat the game. It's just never going to happen. Same with Persona. And it actually forces you to make these hard decisions. Is my camera? Oh, no, sorry. It actually forces you to make those hard decisions because things take time
Right.
in Persona, right? So you have a timeline. It'll be like, hey, it's Saturday. We need to defeat this boss, without going into specifics, by next Saturday. When you go to the arcade, which levels up your whatever stamina or dexterity or something, that takes up half the day. So you can only do 2 things in a day. So you have to make these really hard decisions. And yes, you
Mhm.
can find a list online of someone who's figured out the optimal path, which, to be honest, is really hard to avoid in games like this because, like you were saying, Alex, you just want to be like, well, just tell me the optimal path,
Yeah.
And I agree. It's kind of a thing about these games that bugs me, but you just have to like go forward. You have to make your decisions and beat the game and enjoy it. They're
Mhm.
really fun games. They're great turn-based games. They can be very one-sided though. So like in Persona, if you're playing on the hardest difficulty, like if you make the right move, you're going to wipe out the enemy squad. If you make the wrong move, you're going to get wiped out. It's very
Mhm.
black or white in a lot of ways, and sometimes that can be a little annoying to me. But I'm someone who likes a good challenge, so I try to take that in stride, and everything's all fun and games and all weaknesses and whatnot until you get to the boss, and then the bosses are much more difficult. So very
Right.
fun, very creative games. I think my hot take is that Persona 5 is just like a really, like, stylistically, it is just an incredible game. Like, the people who designed the style and the vibe and the just how the music and all of the art like all coalesce together. It's just like a masterpiece in my opinion. And I'm just not
Hmm.
there yet with Metaphor Re-Fantazio. I still think it's very good, but to just give it like put it on the echelon of a 10 out of 10 in the same light of Persona 5 almost seems, like an insult. So
Right.
hopefully I change my mind, but at this moment, I think we got some reviewers who are jumping the gun.
Okay. That's a very interesting take. We'll see how people write in about it or comment on our videos because I would love to hear, kind of what everybody thinks about it. And
Yeah.
I am excited to see as you continue to play the game, like how it's going. Because so far, I would say people have this in their discussion of Game of the Year. So, like, is this going to be the one that takes it, and is it just playing on the reputation? You know what I mean? Like, also because the game is so long, I like what you said is like, are people actually
Yeah.
reviewing the entire game, or are they just playing the first hour, saying, or whatever, 10 hours, and saying like, hey, this is just like what I remember from Persona. Like, I would love to hear from somebody who's never played Persona to play this and be like, what do you think?
Right. Well,
It's
I
not going to
almost
be
feel like
me.
that's almost like a better way to approach this kind of game because I cannot play this game without comparing it to Persona.
Right.
It wouldn't be fair to my brain to do so, So, but yeah, I mean, tell me I'm wrong. I would love to know why. And I'll keep playing and see where it gets us. This is my
Okay.
favorite genre of games, guys. So like, I can easily be convinced. So it's a journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what happens if it becomes game of the year? Are you going to eat your words and be like, well, I guess I was wrong, or what?
Oh no, I have perfect accuracy on that. I'll know for
Oh,
sure.
don't wait. I know. I know. And guys, reviews are subjective. It's different for everybody.
Yeah,
If you love the game, you love the game.
these are my thoughts
Um,
after 6 hours.
cool. All right. You got anything else on that, or we're closing up?
No, I wanna let's end this so I can go back to playing.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Don't forget to follow or subscribe to be notified when we post new episodes. Post new episodes every Tuesday morning on podcast services and YouTube. You can find us on Instagram, Threads, YouTube, and Patreon at Pixelated Realms and Pixelated Realms Podcast. Thank you all very much.
See you later. Stay safe.